Good afternoon, good evening, good night. We're in a lot of different places, and one of the beautiful things about the internet is that it does give us a chance to experience unity in a very particular way. And so that is one of its gifts. It has its gifts and its not so great gifts, but this is one of the beautiful things about it. And we need more unity. We need more of a feeling of connection to one another. The state of the world, as we know, is not so great. It's in a sorry state of affairs, and unfortunately, it's starting to feel somewhat like it's getting more and more. Divisions are getting stronger. Positionality, nationality, all kinds of things are creating greater and greater division and polarity, and it's fracturing this world. And Hamid and I are going to give a course on the fractured world, where we're going to deal with a lot of the kinds of feelings. Everybody is probably experiencing a myriad of feelings, fear, anger, all kinds of things that we'll deal with much more in that course. But I felt I'd like to set the tone for that, for something that really is, that we don't address specifically there, that I feel is really important to either set the stage for those of you who will be taking the course, or that it really flies on its own. And that is the topic of forgiveness. And it's something that many people talk about, that there's various teachings, religions, actually each one has something about the importance of forgiveness. The Diamond Approach teaching has a specific angle on it that I want to add to the beautiful teachings that are around that speak of forgiveness. And that is that our nature is the unity, is the connectedness, the oneness, the depth of everything and everyone. But as individuals, we aren't always aware of that. We aren't always connected to that. We're not, in fact, 99.9% of humanity has no idea that there is a way to really be in touch with that while being this individual consciousness. Some people do, and there's practices to help bridge that gap. But for the Diamond Approach, there's a way in which we have an approach to our experience that allows us to venture inward and feel touched by that unity and oneness within this individual location, and not have to get beyond ego and transcend it to the expanse, but to melt ego from within by being touched by very specific ways that true nature imbues us and arises from an inner calling. And the beauty of this is we just start with where we are. And when we start to think about forgiveness, we need to talk about holding grudges. Holding a grudge against somebody that has hurt you or wronged you or has wronged someone that you love. In fact, you probably don't have to go too far to think of somebody. Now, grudges can be very vile, hateful, positioned against somebody, something, an institution, a nation, whatever it is. It can be very, very strong, or it can be a little more on the mild side of resentment and just feeling some kind of a resistance to somebody or something. Now, if you actually feel into, if you think about it for a moment, I invite you to think about somebody or something that you hold a grudge against, that you have ill will toward, or at the very least, no goodwill toward. You might not even want to admit that there's ill will. But someone that you feel not open to as a result of a previous injury or some kind of a difficulty you've had with them. But usually it's a way they have expressed or done something that has hurt you, either willingly or unwittingly. If you think about that, feel into the position you find yourself. Feel your body. My guess is openness is not the word you would be using to describe the feeling that you have. A grudge, the tighter it is, the more you feel a grudge against somebody, the more there's really a wall against them. A wall against somebody, not letting them in, not giving them anything. It is really a position of the heart closing in. In our grudges, we want justice or we want revenge. We want them to feel the same pain we have felt. But feel what it does to you. Literally, you're closed. Your heart is walled off. We're building walls. We're keeping the intruder, the bad one, out. They're not just bad, they did something wrong, and they ought to be punished for it. So it's a punitive wall to keep people away, or this particular person away, or particular entity of some kind. Take a breath. I invite you to kind of feel as we're talking about this, as we're speaking of it, the way it affects you. Now, it's clear that you need to be able to feel your anger. Not jump over it, acknowledge they did this thing to me, or to my friend, or to my family, or to my race, or to whatever it is, my nation. And it's often justifiable. There's sometimes you hold a grudge and actually it was a misunderstanding and that person really didn't do what you thought they did. You still have the grudge. Sometimes it helps to understand where somebody's coming from and that lightens it a bit, but it's still hurt. But grudge has a punitive judgment in it and a desire for justice and getting revenge, whatever that is. So that has anger. You need to allow yourself to admit that you're angry. And the more justified you feel, the less you want to let go of it. You don't want to let go until they get it, until it's clear that they understand how mean they were, how nasty they were, or how hurt they made you. You better get that. And often the way we want them to get it is we are really doing the same thing back so that they will feel how we felt. And cutting somebody off is often a way to harm them. But there's other things that we might do to actually harm them. Now, this kind of attitude is going on in the world of a lack of openness to one another. And a lot of it has to do with past hurts, things that have built up and feeling like, well, it doesn't even make sense for me to be open to this person or this nation. Look what they have done. But again, go in to yourself and feel what that does to you. It cuts you off even further from yourself. It doesn't feel good. When you get revenge, is it really a relief? Some people say it is. But if you actually feel the state that you're in by doing harm to another person, if you actually recognize that, it isn't the relief the heart is really wanting. The heart's relief comes with becoming more open. So if we just own the anger and allow ourselves to feel the resentment, the wish for revenge and justice, that's okay to feel it instead of acting out on it. And then at some point that might open further and we feel the hurt that came from. That it's painful. What happened was difficult and it's still there as a wound. It still hurts, it's still smarting. And that is a very important opening to start to actually be able to experience that wound and the hurt and allowing yourself to feel that. And you might be taking these steps with me as I talk about it. And it doesn't mean you should be there. If you're just in touch with the anger level of it and that's where you're at, that's your pace. That's where you need to be. But I'm suggesting that can open up further to the hurt itself. The hurt that you felt they inflicted on you. And sometimes that's that they actually did inflict hurt, emotional, physical, and even all the way down to your soul. You feel wounded. If you allow that hurt and feel that hurt and the event in the past that was there, and just be open to how that did hurt you, that can bring about another kind of opening. If your blame has moved away and you have just gone into that deep sensitivity in the heart, you can begin to feel the heart actually wanting to know how to let go. And that's what all the teachings about forgiveness say. The question is, how can you make yourself let go? Have you ever tried to make yourself let go? It's a little bit like a Chinese finger puzzle. Okay, I'm going to let go of it. And it gets tighter because you're trying to make yourself do something you don't know how to do. When we get to this place, this is really where it becomes a spiritual issue, not a psychological one. We can deal with it psychologically. We need to. Those psychological dynamics are present. But this is the point at which the heart of our soul begins to weep and actually begins to open to the feeling deep in us that's kind of the edge between the one that we know ourselves to be and the one that we can become, to the invisible spirit world where the elixirs can come forward. But we need to admit, I don't know how to let go, and I don't know how to forgive. I want to, but I don't know how. And feeling that helplessness and teariness of the heart begins to allow, we're listening to the heart speak by both longing for its nature and feeling the sadness of being apart from it, but also we're feeling the wish in it to be able to express what it really is, that the nature of the heart is to give. That's just what it does. That's what your heart was born to do here in this world. It's a giving, but not giving over. It's a giving of this bounty and unity. So staying with that helplessness can allow the heart to open in a way that brings in a very delicious, relaxing, sensitive, kind, spacious sort of heartfelt sensitivity, but it's actually a presence that's beginning to show up. When we really allow our helplessness, it's really the ego finally getting, I don't know how to get there. And it needs to get to a natural place of surrender. But what's really coming forward there and helping us to surrender at that moment and letting the heart open is a presence that's bringing us more into the now. As we're present with our experience to the best we can be, it invites the presence of the moment. So we're not just in the now, we are the now. With presence that is beyond time and space, it arises within the heart in a blue, green, turquoisey, beautiful quality. Allows the mind to relax, because this isn't just a heart problem. Grudges are because of the way we're thinking about something. Holding on to the past with our mind, going over that event over and over and over again, feeding the feelings of wanting revenge and justice. This turquoise elixir shows up as a way that invisible unity speaks to us in a way that we can feel and touch and let it imbue this human location. And the mind can relax and let go of the past. The heart can settle and feel its sensitivity. So there's kindness and relaxation as one beautiful elixir. It's a healing elixir. But this does not mean you forget. Forgive and forget, they say. When the mind is relaxed and open, you can be realistic, clear, honor someone's limitations, respond appropriately to those limitations. Respect those limitations, and you begin to be able to see who you can trust and who you can't. Our grudges are tightly held in our biology. We needed to know who the bad guy was when we were running around getting our food, when we were in a tribal environment. And even before, you can see animals hold grudges. Dogs, you hurt a dog badly, they don't forget. And they're very aggressive about that. That lives in us. We need something beyond the biology, beyond our mind, and even beyond our emotional heart to be able to come in to heal this kind of rift. But that doesn't mean forgetting. It means when the mind is relaxed, it's clear and fresh. And that gives us the opportunity for renewal. To begin again with a fuller heart, a clearer mind, but also with wisdom. We then can learn from our past experiences what is a wise choice, what is a wise approach. But I then no longer have to feel walled off from myself. Now there's another side too, which has to do with forgiving ourselves for something that we have done. The same process is there, slightly different. Holding a grudge against ourselves is really a self-rejection. But that has the same effect of cutting us off from our nature, cutting us off from that unity, being able to move through and into us in a way that liberates the heart and can go as far as liberating our soul so that we can actually know that unity as what we are. To be able to forgive ourselves, we need to feel remorse for what we have done, what the transgression was. So this is a process that takes some time, and it may take many times of moving through the anger and the hurt to the help me, I don't know how to do it from here. And staying with that opening and wish and desire that the heart is speaking, that says, I want to know, teach me how. And when we're really bowing inwardly, our inner nature that knows how to let go comes in and lets us settle, relax, open, and be more deeply in touch. And that is, I'm under no illusion that will heal the entire world in our lifetime, but it's a start. The important thing is for each of us to take responsibility for being more in touch and looking at the ways that we act and behave in our usual life that keeps us from being able to be more in touch and act in a natural way. And what I mean by natural is to be the creature we were designed to be, to really learn what it is to be a true human being. It means to be in touch with our true nature. The heart, to forgive, is in touch with its nature because the heart was meant for giving. Forgiving. Forgiveness is a giving. It's a giving of what is natural. So we get afraid, I'll be so open and I'll just get hurt again. Openness itself does not get hurt. Being open does not hurt you. Being undefended is simply a condition that allows you to be more present. It doesn't mean you can't be strong or you can't do what's necessary. And this is a whole nother kind of teaching we could teach about. I could talk about what that means. But we have all kinds of ideas about what that is. So try it out in the privacy of your own home to go through your feelings of defensive revenge to the wound underneath and see how far you go and see how much openness feels so good. You don't want to be away from it. And there's all kinds of ways to be open. Forgiveness is a beautiful sense of heart and mind qualities mixing, blending, relaxing your body, your consciousness. And it's a pleasure to feel that quality. It's beautiful. It's like the turquoise oceans in the Mediterranean. When you look at them, you can't help but relax. People love going there just to look at that color. It's like, it lets the big exhale happen. Humanity could use a very big exhale. That can only happen when our breath is released from holding on to the walls that we build. So this presence is a fullness, a relaxing quality of our nature that is specifically related to forgiveness. It both comes in and allows the relaxation that lets the heart let go and allows the heart to give. But it also brings in the teaching of what the essence of forgiveness is. When you forgive on a psychological level, or you get to a certain point and you feel, okay, I forgive you, what is at the depth of that feeling, really? You can't just say, I forgive you, and have it be done. You have to feel that you forgive someone. And it might feel like an emotional level, or just that you're more open. But what is that? When you actually feel the feeling of forgiveness, it's coming from deep, from the deep ocean, and pooling in your very own heart. So let's spread the goodness. In fact, that's my resolution, is to optimize the joy quotient. If your heart is tethered, you can't be happy and you can't be free. Freedom comes from the heart having no walls, from the mind being completely open like the sky. In fact, there's a Native American saying that forgiveness is the openness of the sky and the land. And I see that as the green lushness of heart and the blue sky of mind, and that is mixed together and allows our humanity. So take a deep breath. Be breathed. On the one hand, we can take a deep breath and feel that's a choice. On the other hand, we're really being breathed at each moment. So I hope there's a lot of spillage of the turquoise ocean into the world from all of you this year, this day, right now. That's what heals that wound, brings the bits together. It unfractures the world. Lets the heart feel content and peaceful, open and free. So there are many other qualities that also can arise within our consciousness, within our soul, from the invisible world. But this is really significant in these times, in these days where there are so many grudges, so many acts of revenge, back and forth. It's never ending, and each one builds on the other. Let's start the spiraling to go the other way, where forgiveness begins a rippling of going back and forth. And that openness invites more positivity. Maybe not immediately, and maybe not across the entire globe at once, but it's a start. Start with a friend, a colleague, sibling. It's a beginning.